Okay, so that's already better. Hello. Is this working? Yes, it is. Oh, emails already coming in. That means we're on. Okay. Can you guys see okay? Nobody's on. They would tell us, right? How many people are on? Okay. Oh, yeah, nobody's on. All right. Let's see how the picture is. Oh, that's pretty good. It's kind of dark. Okay. Maybe a little bit more light down.
Yeah.
You look at the picture and you tell me. How about, is that better?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. And those candles are cool there. And then we got some incense. And here we are. Discussing the Aries New Moon. This is MC Starman, Martin Comtois. And then today I have a fabulous guest, my friend Annie. What is your name last name again?
McAndrew.
McAndrew,
Yes.
directly from London.
Yes.
Oh, but through much adventures you've been, and that's exciting. How are you feeling this new moon yourself?
When is the new moon?
The new moon is, oh, good point. It is Monday. No, well, it's Tuesday, but at 2:22 in the morning. So on the night of between Monday and Tuesday, it's an Aries new moon. We're going to talk about it. I got it all laid out right here. And you're a complete beginner to astrology.
Yes.
And you get to teach at a Sunrise School. That's a Waldorf school? No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
How cool. And I guess we're practicing social, what did you call it again? Social distancing.
Right.
So you're not getting to go to work.
Yeah, we're supposed to go back on Monday. So.
Oh, you guys are going back?
Well, we're gonna be like virtual.
Virtual.
Yeah.
Everything will be done virtual, kind of like us. Hi, virtual folks. We got one person watching. Wow, that's exciting. If you have any questions at the end, you can write them down, and then they'll go in my chat there, and then we'll answer them at the end. And quite the times we're living through, and so it's really difficult to remain objective. Do you find in this? When you're going into town and you're witnessing everything, it's kind of very easy to get alarmed, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
How are you feeling the times in terms of?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of fear everywhere, and I'm just trying to stay grounded and relax as much as possible.
And you've been doing a lot of work outside in the garden.
Yes, yeah, that's great. Really helps.
Yes, me too. I've been working, and I don't know if you guys see, but I got a tan. I got a little bit of color. It's good to shed your winter whites and take on a little pink in your tone. It helps. So we've been talking about this new moon. I mean, this planetary alignment, and I can take you around the hoop here. The responsible party over here of Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. If you get up in the morning really early before the sun rises, you'll see Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn right above the eastern horizon there, right before the sunset rises. I saw them this morning. And then you can't see Pluto, but Pluto's there already. So Mars will be the brightest. Jupiter's quite close, and it'll be the next brightest. And you'll see Saturn a little further. And so we're going to talk about this a lot in terms of understanding what the fuck is going on? You know what I mean? It's like, wow, things are so intense, And this is a lot of the culprit in terms of intensity. And again, it's really hard to be objective because, you know, the the media and our and and just our collective is completely wrapped up into this crisis, and it's incredible, but it seems to be supported by very little evidence, I think, and everybody that I talk to, it's kind of okay, we're going to be safe, but really, when it comes down to it, there's not a lot of evidence. Do you know anybody that's got the disease?
No, I don't.
No, I think that that would be a good question. I would like to know from you guys. How many of you do you know who has somebody that's got it? I think that would be a good indication of how, if it's a really big thing. But um, mm, 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 it seems, again, a little bit short on evidence, and it's kind of scary what the media is doing to us. And to me, there's a bit of misinformation going on. We don't know exactly what it is, but I'm concerned about quite a few things. I know the conspiracy theorists are having a field day with this, I'm sure. Do you know any conspiracy theorists?
Not really.
No. They'll make you worry even more, I think. But in terms of understanding what is going on astrologically and what is being asked of us, we've had, so in trying to understand this objectively, what I did is I went back into time, and I looked for times where the energy were this intense. In terms of planetary alignment, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. Well, first, Saturn, Jupiter come together every 20 years. So the last time they were in conjunction was 2000, in the Y2K, in 2001, the 9/11. And then before that, you go to the 1908 to 1980, and then 1960 and 1940. And those always tend to be very intense. Saturn Jupiter conjunction will be complete at the end of the year. They will do a little bit of a dance over Pluto, all year long. And then at the end of the year, we'll have the Maxima Conjunctio, the alchemists call it. So the conjunction of Saturn, and then maybe the candle is interfering in your seeing. Huh? I don't know if the picture is good, but anyway, here is so Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, and you can see them in the morning. And of course, you won't see Pluto, but so Jupiter, Saturn, and then so Jupiter, Saturn were conjunct in 1980, and after both conjunct, Pluto, but in 81, 82, 83, like that. So it was not exact. And then the 1960s, we had very similar tension with Uranus, Pluto in opposition to Saturn, and Jupiter played a role in there. And then the time that I found that was most similar to what we're living right now, well, there were two times. 2012, which is quite recent, where we had Pluto, Saturn, and a conjunction Jupiter-Uranus forming a T-square, and then all the inner planets came in and formed the Grand Cross in the summer of 2012. Then the last time I found it that was really intense like that was 1941 and 1942, in terms of like the sheer psychological tension, and so, whether it's the COVID disease that's responsible for this, or the mass hysteria is fed by the news and by the decisions our government is making, or but I think that personally, I look at it as a collective psychosis, because there are so many other things that, I think the financial insecurity and the falling apart of the financial markets I think that that's just as much of a worry, probably even in the long run, more worrisome. And then what's going to happen to everybody losing their jobs and not making any money? We're looking at a significant financial crash. That is, probably the closest thing would be not, 1928, right? The big crash and then the Great Depression. And so in terms of an economic aspect, and then there are also very good things in that we're all slowed down, and then we're all doing taking care of ourselves and resting and being really good to ourselves, and that's really good. And then we're finding strategies to deal with that. But if you look at the astrology, because Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto will be doing a dance all year, the intensity that we're going through right now is going to stay like that, probably into early 2021. And we have different factors. And you see here, this is Uranus, and then Uranus is in Taurus at the very beginning, just got into a conjunction with Venus, and it is squaring Saturn right now and Pluto, and then Jupiter and Mars will all take their turns squaring Uranus, and that's leading up to 2021. And so then we have Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto in square to Uranus pretty much all year long. And so that's going to be very intense. Now, what makes this really, even more difficult is Mars. Mars is our personal will. And so on the 23rd of March, we're going to have an exact conjunction of Mars and Jupiter. Get up in the morning to see that. That's going to be quite stunning. And then 5, 6, 7 days later, you're going to have, around the 30th, you're going to have a Mars-Pluto. Now, the Pluto archetype is death and rebirth and the personal will. Jupiter is expansive. Mars-Jupiter is super energetic. Then Mars-Pluto is really dark. And then Mars-Saturn, the will is really restricted by the Saturnian deity. And then Mars, so that's April 4th, around the 8th, and then we'll have the full moon on April 7th, and then we'll have Mars square Uranus. So Monday night, Tuesday morning is the new moon, and then we'll have, right before the new moon, we have the conjunction of Mars-Jupiter, then Mars-Pluto, then Mars-Saturn, then Mars square Uranus, and then we'll have the full moon, and that's a 2-week period. And so that's liable to be quite fiery, quite Martian, really big Saturnian, Plutonian, Uranian energies. And we'll talk more about that, but that's really where the big tension is, and it will continue to be so. And there's some nice lessons that we can learn from those archetypes. But first, let's look at the new moon. And what's the new moon? And on the picture in the front of the video, that I put the chart of the new moon. And then at the new moon, we have, of course, the moon and the sun, and then Chiron. We have a couple of guests. I hope that the picture is good. We'll check it out later. So moon, Saturn, sun, Chiron, exactly in conjunction for the new moon. Chiron being the wounded healer. It's kind of really appropriate where the sun, the sacred masculine, the moon, the sacred feminine, during the sacred marriage with the shaman healer. And so it really bodes, all our concern is on healing. And I think it's really important, with one of the things that I've, saw, and one of the things that I don't think is very good for our collective is that all our alternative healers are all retreated into isolation and are not offering their services. And I think as as these planetary alignments come, and especially Mars, Jupiter, very enthusiastic, very courageous. I think we're going to pull out of our stupor and start showing up for other people. And especially, I think the people, I don't know about you, but it seems to me like the people that are most affected by this is the marginal, the homeless, and then we're all deciding just to kind of turn our back on the people that are needy. And it's interesting to notice, all the shelters are closing, and so I think that human nature will shine, and we're going to start realizing that this isolation is good to a point. But if we're not watching over our neighbors, if we're not entering into a spirit of community, and we'll talk about that, we'll talk about tools to deal with these challenges. But I think that the need to step up as healers ourselves and to be counted. It's interesting. We've been doing so many advances over the year on alternative healing, and all of a sudden we have a health crisis, and everybody retreats and is not offering their services, and which is when we really need it, And why are we not acknowledging the fact that we have so many amazingly talented alternative healers that can participate in this healing of this disease that we have, and not only that, but also a reality that there are so many other things at play, and that people are going to need psychological support, I think. And so I think that one of the great messages of this new moon is, I think that what's going to resound is a good call to action, and a call to showing up for the collective, and not to take the mass media and the government's response. I think that to be a little critical and to do your research. I think if you do the research and you see, how bad this is, and if you talk to the people who are educated, you'll find, and I think that that's one of the things that's going to happen, is as time unfolds, we're going to realize that the information that was passed on to us wasn't exactly accurate. And I think that that's one of the really things that we've learned in the past, is that don't put all your trust in the government, because they're, they tend to, and I think that it repeats itself over and over again, that government make decisions that sometimes are not wise, and I think that this hysterical behavior that we all got into could use some level-headed thinking and some considering and addressing not just coronavirus, but addressing the financial situation and fear that people have, and to spread some hope and show up for each other in a healthy manner. Because really, I don't know, what do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think we definitely need to work together and come together and support each other.
That's if we are going to go through times like the 1930s, if it is a similar financial crash, we're going to be in it for a while, and there are certain things that we can do, and I think that that's the most important thing, is deciding what is it that we can do. And so first thing on the list, I think, is gardening, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
got some seeds.
Yeah. How exciting. And so we're working on a greenhouse project, and we got some beds that we're going to be doing. Annie is my neighbor, and so we're been stepping up and trying to do that. What else can we do, I think, in this crisis to support each other?
Well, I guess somehow, yes, manage to stay connected, even though people are isolating themselves. I think it's important that, online and any other ways you can to still keep that connection.
Absolutely. I think that being in the sun outside with others still is qualified as safe, and I think that is a really good thing. So working on garden projects outside together. What if you don't have a garden? What do you do?
Yeah, well, if you have space, you could start one, but if you don't have any space,
Well,
Go help a friend.
I think that if you don't know where you're going to grow food, you find yourself a farmer that needs help, and you go and you say, "Hey, I would like to help you," because ultimately, food is going to be the most important thing as we move on, and knowing where our food is and how to grow our food. So if you can't grow food yourself, find yourself somebody that is, and find out if you can help them in building a really nice garden. And there are many on Vancouver Island here, many amazing gardeners, and they usually depend on the woofers to do their, and people that are traveling, and there's no more of that. So I think that finding somebody that you can help garden would be really good. And then one thing you mentioned too is building social networks that where we know where each other is, and we can support all our people, and we can unite as communities. One of the things about this tension in this time is that one of the things that at times of crisis like this is when great social movements are born. Like we can think about the all of the people that risked their lives to try to help the Jews during World War II, and we can, and we look at similar times in history where the humanity was really severely tested. It's how we stick together that's going to make us stronger, and that's going to make us go through it. So too much isolation is another thing. Is people go crazy when they're isolated, and people are also easier to break and control when they're isolated. And so extend yourself and form community. What else can we do?
That's a good question.
Well, I heard you play piano and sing, and I think that's big.
Yeah.
And that was really nice. You were singing and you were playing piano when we were hearing you everywhere. And so that was very, very, and so we can make art, we can sing, we can play music, we can gather together. We have time, and we can find time to support each other that way. I think is a beautiful thing to do. Blah, 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 blah. What else? So in terms of dates, I think the next 2 weeks is going to be telling. I think in terms of what to plan, for, I think let these next 2 weeks ride. There's going to be a lot going on, but again, inform yourself, find community, and make plans for sustainability. And don't believe or be critical at least, and go and find alternative information that support a better way of dealing with this crisis. At no time in history do we have more tools for ourselves, and at no time in history are we surrounded with such talented healers. And so why not empower our natural healers, and why not show up? I know myself, I'm going to do something. Well, I'm going to be offering readings at a much lower price than usual to support people psychologically. I'm going to do and spiritually do 40 minutes for $40 online. So if you want a reading, reach out. I'm going to be doing that, and then I'll put some more information on that. And then the full moon in Libra on April 7th has and I think that that's going to be very telling as well. So the full moon's going to be like this, and at the end of Libra, so moon, sun in opposition in T square to Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, and Pluto. So that's liable to be very intense as well. So I would take that the intensity we've been seeing will continue to be quite stirring over the next couple of weeks. The new moon and then the full moon, that particular cycle with all of the Mars conjunctions to Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn, and the square of Uranus. So then then I think that by then we're going to get a little clarity on what's going on, and I think we're going to see more energetic progress in being the change that we want to see, because we have an amazing opportunity with these times. We have an opportunity to make some lasting change, and that's going to require us to overcome this fear and just show up on a much more positive way. What do you think? Does that make sense to you?
Oh yeah, I think yeah, if we all are in a state of fear, it's not very helpful. Like I think it's important that you take the time to meditate and yeah, look after yourself and try to be as relaxed and happy and like you were saying with the sun, try to do things that are good for you. So if everyone's taking care of themselves and their mental health, then I think yeah, we'll get through this.
Absolutely, absolutely. And do you find how is important? Have you been getting some inspiring human contacts through this process?
Human contact?
Uh-huh.
Not much, no. But I've been getting quality human contact. So.
Quality human contact, I think, is really important. I've committed a great sin against the collective in that I continue to do my workshops, and I know I got people to criticize me heavily on that, but I will continue to do so because people need support at this time more than any other time really in history. And so a few brave souls have been coming to my workshops. I had 20 in the Comox Valley on Monday, and then only a couple in Duncan, and then on Wednesday, and then we had a beautiful group of 6 people on Thursday. And what I'm finding is that these people that come out, they have done their research and they understand, and they've been through a lot. One lady said to me, she said she was continuing to come, and she says, well, I just had, pneumonia and I nearly died in December, and there's something more important, to me right now, to understand what is going on and to show up on a higher level. So here she was, an elderly lady showing up, and another one had cancer in the fall. And she says, oh, what, she said in a very humoristic way that, what, now you're going to take me out with a little virus after I survived cancer? And so there are so many challenges that we face in a collective. Oh yeah, that's one other thing that I wanted to say, is that this crisis, it's happening right now, but it's been building for years, hasn't it? Mm-hmm. And we all have been feeling that something was amiss and something was going to happen. I know in my own work, when I do readings for people, we are left with the sense that, prior to this, we had the sense that something was coming up that was really big. And it was coming up in all the readings, that was doing, and all the workshops that we've been planning. Actually, one of the things that I'm going to do in the next few days is I'm going to do online on YouTube again. I'm going to do the Priestess Rising workshop, and I'll share that with you. And that's the when I see archetypally that is rising, and that's what's being asked of us, is one, that we need to learn to go back to living life in a sacred manner, and then there are changes that are being, invited, that are very much like, what we've been talking about in terms of the age of Aquarius. And Aquarius is about sticking together. It's about community, and it's about, supporting the individual. Leo Aquarius is an opposition, so there's a tension. And so we're talking about the age of Aquarius. And so that's an age of community. And it's certainly not an age of fear. And it's certainly not an age of misinformation. And so do your homework, and look at these particular alignments that we got that we're going through, and I'll post them on my Facebook site about these states that you need to be mindful for. And then again, pay attention to these. And if you have a chance, do some rituals honoring the new moon and these conjunctions and also the full moon, and really connect to what is it that you can be doing to make the world a better place. And as I'm watching, we got the Venus peeking through the skylight. See that?
Yeah.
Bright, bright Venus, and Venus in Taurus. Huh? There's a lot of love in the air if we can just choose to focus on that. What did you think? Do you have any questions? I blah 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 blah. And what did you think of this little?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Interesting. How all the planets are on this side. I don't know what that means.
Well, all of the slow-moving planets are all on this side, and then the sun and the moon and Venus and all of they move really fast. So as the sun moves away, then the charts will become more full. But because all the slowing moving planets are on this side, then every year at this time of the year, because of what's been going on, we're at these very, small kind of cup shape, kind of, very, and very, yes, that's the wrong chart. Taurus new moon, yes. That'd be good if I looked at the right chart. Here we go. Aries. So we have, interesting how we have a moon, sun, Chiron in a perfect square, no, sextile to Saturn, Mars, Pluto, and Jupiter. That's a 7 planet and alignment. And so that's quite powerful. And did you, because you're new to astrology, was that helpful in seeing the process?
Yeah, I mean, it's really great to see it visually like this. It's I guess slow to take everything in, but yeah.
Well, there's a lot of information, but the Astro Mandala table is my tool, and I'm the Starman, and this is Annie, and we came to you from Duncan tonight. And if you have any questions, please do send them. And I hope this video gets to you. I think I probably made some mistakes anyway. One of these days I'll become technologically gifted, but not for now. Bye for now, and then we'll say and take good care of yourselves and show up for each other. These are the times we've been waiting for. Woohoo! All right, that was end stream. Are you sure you want to end your stream? Yes. Okay.